Fight against political dissent. More than 2,500 Russians were fined under the article on discrediting the army for the first 3 months since its appearance in the Code of Administrative Offenses of Russia. The total amount of fines exceeded 85 million rubles. Another 161 people were sentenced under a criminal article on political cults for a violent change in the constitutional order, 126 for justifying terrorism, and about 500 for displaying prohibited symbols. According to the article about fakes, the Moscow resident was put behind bars for 7 years.
По этим статьям, по так называемым...
Under these articles, under the so-called articles on fakes, not only administrative but also criminal cases were initiated. To date, more than 100 such cases are known. Some have already been sentenced. Of course, this is an element of military censorship, it is the persecution of dissent and the application of repressive norms to that part of society that does not share the views of the authorities.
But to silence Russians who have an anti-war position, the Kremlin is not limited to fines. This is Alexei Karelin, a student at the Nizhny Novgorod State University. After Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, he took online classes, drawing the stripes of the colors of the Ukrainian flag on his forehead. In March, a young man published an article on the portal of the educational institution, in which he criticized classes in jingoistic education at the university.
We, the second-year students of basic medicine, were taken off course and obligated to attend a meeting to discuss the current geopolitical situation. The whole catch of this obligation was that there was no discussion, but a crude generalization dates fakes. Alexei Karelin, student of the Nizhny Novgorod State University.
On June 16th, police knocked on the door of the student's rented apartment, but he managed to escape. A month later, Alexei was summoned to the university, to the disciplinary commission. At the exit from the educational institution, he was stopped by people in civilian clothes and sent to the psychiatrist Kasimova, who was involved in at least one more episode of the struggle of the security forces against dissent.
All forms of political and social activism that contradict the position of the official authorities, Kasimova considers a manifestation of mental illness. She saw my rallies against compact housing construction, against cutting down parks, and the fight against illegally inflated housing and utilities tariffs as a symptom of mental illness. In her opinion, normal people do not protest, but lead a life of a silent plant. Alexei Podnebesny, activist undergoing compulsory psychiatric treatment, in the comment for the Radio Liberty.
It was this psychiatrist that the law enforcement officers tried to send the student Karelin to. At first, the young man ignored them, but after the Federal Security Service officer threatened to put him in the hospital for a long time, he agreed to stay in the hospital for a month. After his discharge, Alexei visits a psychologist and takes neuroleptics. These are the official demands.
В России карательная психиатрия.
In Russia, punitive psychiatry is the successor of a fairly large volume of Soviet practices, when punitive medicine was used including in relation to dissidents. Now we are seeing the return of these practices. This is possible due to the fact that there is no justice system, because complaining anywhere is useless, and any actions of the authorities are covered by their courts.
Such a repressive method of combating dissent as political abuse of psychiatry was widely used by the Soviet authorities in the 60s. Mentally healthy people were placed in psychodispensaries, where doctors broke not the body but the mind. The General Assembly of the World Psychiatric Association condemned such treatment as early as 1977. Repressive medicine violates the Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, but for the Russian Federation there is no law. Reported by Roman Smoler, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.